Alright, we're back. Now, so I've been working on this one right here. That's what I just finished up, my threading tool. And what I want to go over is the new one I'm going to do. Now, I'll tell you why I made it just a little bit different. Come over here to the machine. This is my tool holder and my tool post. You can see the tip of this is off center from my bolts, so it kind of pulls it at an angle, catty corner. I'm still going to fix this, so don't worry about that. But on the new one, since I'm going to be turning, I don't really want that as much. So it is a little bit, it's still a little off center. And that's okay. I could always take it in a little bit more on this side if I want to. I don't think I'm going to have to. But some of this is going to be cut away at this side and at this side. And this whole piece is going to be cut at an angle. I'm going to have to trim this down anyway. So I may trim this side to fit, then may trim a little bit more off this side to get it more lined up with these, with the holding bolts themselves. Because you keep getting further away from center, there's the strongest location, then you're off center again, then you're off center one more time. So by the time you're done, it's a lot of pull. Even though this machine will probably never see that heavy a cut, I still don't like it. But anyway, this is where I'm at on it. And I'll offset it to the other side. So the whole trick now is to pocket this thing to a CCMT insert. So this is an 80-degree diamond. It's got the radiuses I want. It's got the size, the fit I want. It's used in larger boring bars. Larger for this machine, not larger in general. But my boring bar and my turning tool, I'd like to have the same insert. So I just buy one of them. And I don't want to buy this thing from China, because that's who's got it. And pretty much everything there's made has not been real good in my shop. Like these tie-down bolts that go to my swivel vise on my milling machine. A while ago I was trying to straighten it up and actually pulled one of them apart. Cheap freaking junk. Hate it. But whatever. I'm gonna quit buying crap from China because I'm just getting sick of things breaking all the time, just because they use inferior products. So moving on. So I had to set this up. If I can get a good zoom on it here. As you can see the actual layout of how I want the insert to set in the material. So I've got an 80-degree diamond, I'm putting in a 90-degree square. You can see a little bit of relief there and a little bit of relief there. So it's about 5 degrees per side, so 80 out of 90 leaves you 10. So it's 5 per side, and that's how I'm going to angle it. Now back here on this corner, I have to relief it out a little bit more because it won't fit if you just turn the corner and go the other way. You still got that tip of that diamond. So I've got to drag it out just a little bit further to make sure the diamond fits. So I've done my calculations, and to get that little piece centered, where I've got the hole in the inscribed circle there, I had to do a little bit of math, of course, and I come out with this. So I've got, it's 40-degree right angle because this is 80-degree diamond. Divided by 2 is 40 per side. So we get 282 and 237 on the movements. So if we were to line this up a little bit, you can see 237, 237, and that puts me at a cross section 237 this way, 237 this way, scribe it, and that's dead center, or you could do it on the mill like I did, just move over, and punch the hole. So I'm where I need to be. Now to cut it out, it's going to be the same kind of thing. So I've got my mill set up on my swivel on with a vise on the swivel, and I've got it set to 0, and I went ahead and indicated the jaw in. So 0, 0. I'm good there. I've got my cutter all set up, ready to go. So the first cut I'm going to do is going to be this little tail section. So if I'm holding it like this, which I'm going to hold it, I'm going to have to turn it so this is in a straight line, so that should be about 40 degrees. So when I get it on there and get it set up and get it turned to 40 degrees, I should be able to run my mill across the top of this and actually see the straight line. If it is, then I'm going to zero off the top, go to my depth as I cut, and just cut back a little bit, probably not very far, 150 thousandths maybe. Then I'm going to set up and actually do my cuts at 5 degrees. So I've got this edge right here where this is going to be pocketed. So I've got 5 degrees, and this bottom section is going to be the same, so I can do this on the same cut. But this one will be cut first. Then I'm going to have to move the mill head at an angle of 10 degrees. It's either 7 or 10. I think it's 10. As you can see, this has a relief angle on it. Right there. I've checked it at 5, it's more than 5. It looks like it might be a little less than 10, so it's probably around 7. I didn't look up the insert to see what it is exactly, but I'll probably cut it at about 10, just to see. So my 10, after I get my cut in a straight line across the whole end of this piece, to cut it at the 5 degree angle that I want, then I'll move the mill head, tilt it 10 degrees, so then I can come back and cut and relieve this portion down here at the bottom at the same angle that my insert is, until it just gets up to where the insert meets the bottom of this. Then that's where I'll stop. So everything will have a relief on both sides. This will be the same way. So on this side, it will get into the shank. It's going this direction. So yeah, it'll cut in, and down here somewhere it'll be relieved till it gets to the shank. Then I'll just drop the shank out the rest of the way, do the same thing, tilt the mill head 10 degrees, cut it till it meets, and everything should be fine. So that's where I'm at, and that's where I'm going to get set up. The first cut I'll do will be in that straight line to give myself an end to this pocket, and I'll get set up for that now. Now that I've got my angle set, and I set it to the 40 degrees, right there, I wanted to make sure I was in the center of the circle that I made, or the 3/8 inscribed circle. So I just went ahead and did the logical thing and just indicated the hole in. That's the idea. That way you know you're in the center. That way when you draw or mill your straight line, I'm going to use an 1/8 inch milling cutter, and just come back about 200 thousandths from that circle edge, just so I can encompass that triangle. So I'll go ahead and finish getting this indicated in and cut it. Okay, so my next order of business here, I'm going to take this big long carbide end mill, and I'm going to cut at this 5 degree angle. As you can see, I've already got my little corner pocket made there, so the corner of the insert will fit, but I'm going to cut this back here, so where you see that circle, where it just starts coming through the circle. That should be my inscribed circle. So once I cut that away, to the farthest regions here right in the center, then it should be where I need it to be. That's going to be cut at 5 degrees, and then I'll have to put in a 3/16 cutter, then come back to this wall and do the same thing to where it just picks up that inscribed circle, where it just flattens it out. But after I get done with this big long cut, then I'm going to angle the head of the mill, and I looked it up at 7 degrees for clearance angle for this particular insert. So I'll angle the mill head 7 degrees and cut along here for the clearance until I just reach where I just cut from the circle. So when it's done, I'll show you what I'm talking about. So I'll do that off camera. So there it is. I just broke through. I stuck a little pick in there to pop that little piece out. So, but that is at its 5 degree angle. If I can get in there and actually show you. Hard to really tell. I just broke out the corner with that circle. So now what I'll do is I'll just tilt the head where this cutter is sitting at 5 or 7 degrees. Then I'm going to relief it until it just meets that edge right there. Okay, so there's the finished product of it. I brought it up a little bit higher than this piece. You don't really need to if this sticks out a little further, because your cutter's cutting everything away from the bottom of that clearance angle up. So I could have stopped right there, but I brought it up just a little bit just to make sure I cleared everything. Now on this back side, back here, I'm going to cut same angle across, back and forth, and I left it black with a little magic marker back there, so as soon as I see that black go away, I know I've gone far enough. You just don't want to do it right off the bat. So I'm going to cut forward of that just a little bit. I've got a 3/16 cutter in my quill right there. So I'll set it a little bit forward of that and then start cutting down to depth. Now the depth of it is 170. I'm going to cut it down to 185 thousandths. So just to make sure it sets a little bit below the top of that piece of steel there. I don't want to get it just perfectly level. I want it a little bit below. I can always come back and trim it off later if need be. But from where I'm starting, I'm just going to go to 185 or 185 thousandths. Alright, so there's part of the cut right there. Now, I told you a while ago I was going to cut until that goes away. Well, that's not part of the circle. That was when I was running back across here and went a little bit too far and bumped into it, of course. So won't hurt anything. Don't like it, but oh well, that's part of it. So what I'll do now is I'll go ahead and leave it to depth, because I went ahead and cut this big part off at the same time. So I ran this way back and forth until I got it all done. Then when I got to here, I went ahead and ran back and I accidentally bumped into this piece. So that's all me. But I'm going to change it to the other angle, to the 5 degrees this way. And then go ahead and cut this back until the back of this circle gets cut. I have to use a mirror to look back there, and hopefully I don't bump into anything else. Then I'll chamfer that hole a little bit and set my insert in, see if it fits, see if I need to change anything. Because I'm going to have to set up this whole deal all over again to do this relief cut. Because it just, well, my mill doesn't nod, so I'm going to have to set it up completely different just to get this one cut done. So it'll look like that. So I'm going to cut the other piece and see what happens. Well, there it is. You can see inserts in it. It's got just a slight little overhang on this side right here. Of course, on this side over here it hadn't been cut yet. So we have a slight little, protrusion right there. So I haven't cut this side yet. As you can see, it does fit. Oops. And it is a little bit below level right there. All the angles match. This little piece back here is a little bit too deep, but that's okay. It's just a clearance for the end of the insert anyway. So there it is so far. So I got a little bit of equal distance there. Insert sticking out past the tool holder. Just so all the angles are correct on the insert itself. Got the pocket to hold the tip of the insert. Now the only thing that's really left is cutting this thing to fit. As you can see, since this is an angle, I left the bar a little long. So it's actually put into the tool holder. See, now it's not so far off, there and there. All I have to do now is just cut this edge down, put it back in the mill after I get everything set back up, and cut it down to basically right there where that turn is. And it'll be just fine. It'll work just absolutely perfectly. So when I get this done and get everything cleaned up, then I'm going to go ahead and test it on a piece of steel and thread a piece of steel with the threading tool that I made. So there's the turning tool. Here's the threading tool. So when I get all done, I'll run a thread with this after I cut this bolt down a little bit and actually set the chamfer like it's supposed to be. So turning and threading, so far so good.